On today's show, after blowing a 19-point lead, did the Dallas Mavericks just waste their best chance to turn this series in their favor? And what happened in that third quarter where the lead really broke down? We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Let it ride. No, just kidding.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day, even after playoff Western Conference Finals losses. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can subscribe to the show. And the best way to help us grow is comment below. What's the biggest fix that Jason Kidd needs to make? What's the one reason why the Mavericks lost this game? Put it in the comments below. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. They have you covered for everything. Props, odds, lines, spreads, more than any other site. BetOnline, where the game starts. And joining me, as always, on the road, co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com, the Road Renegade, the One More Thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Woo! Man, that second half sucked. It sucked so dang bad. Obviously we're here in the Bay for games 1 and 2, and we're excited for this game 2. And that first quarter happens, that first half happens, and we're hyped. Not as hyped as this one Mavs fan that was near us.
We should just give him a name.
I don't even know.
Bennington. Bennington was so hyped.
This guy was screaming at all Warriors fans, just like the annoying guy that you're like, is this guy really sitting next to me?
Standing up, pointing at people, like wanting to fight people 10 rows in front of him that were turned around yelling at him. I mean, he just wanted all the smoke.
And then in the second half, I never seen him at all. I didn't know. It's like they engulfed him or they just ate him, and he was gone. But man, tough loss. Like there's no way around it to say that was just a brutal loss.
The Mavericks had an opportunity. They did. They had an opportunity to win this game, and it was right there for them. And that third quarter is where it really turned around. And there's a bunch of different reasons why the Mavericks, lost this game. You could start going through them. But in that third quarter, the Mavericks went away from the things that were working for them. Jason Kidd after the game said, he was asked by Tim McMahon, what's the reason why, that lead really broke down in the third quarter? Jason Kidd said, offense. We only play defense when we score. You can get away with that in the regular season, but not here. I actually kind of disagree with him in a way. I thought the third quarter defense was not as bad, as the fourth quarter, but also they just didn't score. So, I agree with him that, yes, they didn't score at all in that third quarter. They went away completely from what was working in the first half in that third quarter, and they only scored 13 points in the third quarter. You could just look at the straight up score and say, hey, they didn't score in the third quarter, but I felt like they went away from the stuff that was working for them. It's not like they were just missing a bunch of open threes. They weren't getting good offensive possessions.
Yeah, so wait, what are you disagreeing with?
He said, why did that third quarter lead break down? And he said, offense. We only play defense when we score. I thought they still defended decently well. They had a couple of Looney plays here and there. There was a Clay really tough jumper. Maxey got beat by Jordan Poole on a play, which, stuff like that happens. Wiggins got by Luka, and then he got fouled by Maxey because he had to come up and help. A couple of those things happened in the third quarter, but I didn't think that was necessarily the defense breaking down. It's just the Warriors being able to take advantage of mismatches against the Mavs. It was their offense in the third quarter that really just completely broke down. They went away from everything.
Yeah, it's not like it was, the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter was...
If the Mavs had scored 13 points and the Warriors had scored 35 or 40 or something like that, I would probably agree with him. But I thought their defense was still fine in that third quarter. The Warriors didn't go on a huge run. They just sort of trickled back into this game. They just kept pounding and pounding and pounding, and eventually just broke open at the end.
Yeah, the Warriors scored 43 points there in the fourth, but I thought you were just going to disagree with what Kidd said as far as the offense or the defense being connected to the offense, and
I agree with that.
Yeah, and even look at what Steve Kerr said after the game. So Steve Kerr was asked, he said, "Hey, 15 threes for them in the first half, 6 in the second half. Do you feel like you played it better or they just missed?" And Kerr said this after the game. So if you're in the camp of, hey, Jason Kidd's full of crap when it comes to, hey, if you don't hit shots, then you're not going to play defense.
That's not where I am, but that's okay.
No, it's not where you're at. But I've seen some fans post game say, no, it was their defense. It had nothing to do with their offense there, in the third quarter. Steve Kerr says this. He goes, I always talk about the game. The game is connected. The better you play on offensively, the defense becomes a little bit easier because your defense is set.
Yeah.
You've got some confidence. You've got some bounce in your step. I just think the game is connected for us there in the second half. And he's just saying, like, even thinking about that in the sense of if you're hitting shots and your offense is doing well, it allows you the chance to get back and get set defensively and, like, know where your mind is at. Not including just the confidence factor of, hey, we're hitting shots. It makes you want to play defense better. That was one of the takeaways when we ran into Coop there in the hallway after game one. It's like, man, when you just miss that many shots, it kind of it's demoralizing to you and your confidence and stuff. So it's just they only scored 25 points in the third quarter. The Warriors did, but still, I mean, you're right. It's the offense. They just it was so wild how we said this on the postcast. We did a postcast, which shout out to a lot of you guys who joined that. It was a good amount of you guys
on YouTube
that joined us on YouTube right after the game, taking questions, instant thoughts there from Chase Center. But it's wild how much their offensive approach changed in the third quarter compared to the first half.
It did. Things really got away from them. In the first half, they were attacking Curry by way of Luka and Bullock pick and rolls. They did it 16 times, and according to Second Spectrum, Kevin O'Connor tweeted this out. They scored 1.8 points per attack on that, per chance. 1.8 points on 16 pick and rolls with Luka and Bullock. Now, what the Warriors did was they switched who Curry was guarding. Curry was guarding Bullock in the first half, and so the Mavericks were able to run that over and over again, switched it to Curry guarding Dorian. In the first play of the second half, the Mavericks ran that play where they had Dorian come up and set a screen for Luka, and the whole point is to either get Curry on Luka for a one-on-one matchup, or that Curry and Wiggins or whoever was defending, they sort of try to hedge it and try to not get Curry specifically one-on-one, and then either Dorian gets released and he's completely open, or Luka can just get by the two of them because they're trying to fight through the Dorian screen together.
Yeah.
And they did that the first play, and then they didn't do it the rest of the game. They just kept doing the switch and getting Looney one-on-one against either Brunson or Dinwiddie or Luka a ton of times in that third quarter, and it just didn't work over and over and over again. I mean, we were seeing it in the arena. We went back and we watched the third quarter here afterwards, and Stan Van Gundy was just screaming about it on the broadcast. Why are you doing this? And I don't know if that's a kid thing or a Luka thing or maybe a little bit of both, but that was just something that was not working in that third quarter at all. And honestly, when Draymond came back in, they started scoring again.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of like a joke there of Draymond getting in foul trouble. It's like, well, I kind of want him to.
Yeah, do you want him to foul out?
I know. I was like, don't foul out. We kind of need you in this game because they made the run, when he went out.
So that third quarter, the Mavericks had a 15-point lead with 7 minutes left in the third quarter. It was a 2-point lead with 30 seconds to go in the third quarter.
They were up by 19 at one point.
It wasn't even, well, yeah, that's just that third quarter run. It wasn't even a Warriors were going to blitz you in 3 minutes, and it was just a slow burn, 7-minute run. And so a lot of Mavs fans today, and myself included, are wondering, why didn't Jason Kidd call a timeout?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. With Kidd, it's a little bit opposite of Rick. Rick loved taking his timeouts. Even said this on a postcast, but even to the sense of Rick took so many timeouts, he got technicals. He took timeouts even in games that he didn't have any timeouts left, and so he just take them and take the tech on top of that. Kidd's like, hey, well, I'm just going to hoard them. I'm just going to hoard these in my bunker and save them for the end of time, and then just have a million timeouts. So if there could be a balance, maybe, but it's Jason Kidd's talked about it. He talked about it again post game of saying, hey, this is a chance I want my team to grow. We can make adjustments on the fly. He just views this as a growing moment for the team. And yeah, I mean, we're not coaches, and that's his thing. Obviously, I'm looking at it from just a little old podcaster saying, hey, I might have taken a little time out there. But you know what? He's also coaching a team in the Western Conference Finals.
Coming up, I'm going to tell you why I think Jason Kidd is wrong about that. We'll talk about that more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. It's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. I just ate one just now as I'm spilling sprinkles all over this hotel room. The Built Bar Puffs. These birthday cake puffs are delicious. I love them.
Take a bite.
They're. I already ate it. It's already gone. It's already gone. I took a bite earlier.
How many calories did you just consume?
I consumed 150 calories, just 7 grams of sugar, and like 15, 17 grams of protein in a bar covered in 100% white chocolate with marshmallow fluff in the middle of it. Sprinkles on the top. They're great. They're an incredible snack replacement. If you want something late night, like me, I'm after this game and I want to eat something, but I don't want to like eat my leftover burger from earlier. I don't want to eat like, go down the street and get some good like, late night Chinese food. I want to eat something that's just going to tide me over, going to give me enough protein to get through this little hunger crave that I have. Boom, Built Bar. You eat one of those, get your fix. Built.com, promo code LOCK15. That's the number 15. LOCK15 is the promo code. Built.com for 15% off. Get them now. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. Now make your second listen after this. Locked On NBA Big Board. They got great stuff all the time on the NBA draft. Go check out Rafael Barlow, our friend Richard Stamen, a.k.a. Mavs Draft. All about the NBA draft. It's coming. We got to get ready for the draft because it is coming whether the Mavericks bow out of the playoffs or continue on. All right. I think Jason Kidd was wrong about the third quarter. And I have a couple of reasons. So his quote specifically was...
He didn't breathe.
So our colleague Mike Leslie asked him this question about the third quarter. And... he said, or about why he didn't take any timeouts in the third quarter. And they had 4 timeouts in the third quarter. So remember that one. And he says this quote, "You only have so many timeouts. I can't burn them all in the third. This is a great learning experience for our young team to learn how to stop a run. We took timeouts, but sometimes you have to put the ball in the basket to stop a run." Now that's true. You do have to put the ball in the basket, right? Like it's on the offense, but sometimes you have to stop play when the Warriors are playing fast and when the Warriors are doing their Warriors thing and the crowd's getting into it and they're getting loud, and then all of a sudden Draymond's getting into it on the sidelines and Curry's getting hot, and all of a sudden these guys are starting to see the ball go through the rim, and you have to stop these things. Like, yes, you're going to go in and there's going to be crazy fanfare during a timeout, like, oh, they called a timeout, we got them on the ropes, and there's going to be all that. But then you can draw something up, you can come back, you can slow the game down. And I don't know about that part about it's good a learning experience for this young team. How about win the game? How about do what's best to win the game? That's where I am right now with this. He had 4 timeouts. They finished the game with 1, so he had 1 more. He took one at 30 seconds when they were already down by 10. Yeah. So he had 2 timeouts at the end of the fourth quarter that he didn't even take. And so that's why I'm sitting here. I think he left cards on the table.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I would have taken a timeout. I do think you do learn from it. I do think you can grow from moments of, but I think it's more of, hey, a miniature run and let it happen a little bit and then take the timeout. Like, don't let the whole thing, yeah.
In his defense, there were stoppages. There were moments where the game did stop, right? Draymond got his 5th foul. There was kind of a stoppage there. There's a stoppage when at like 5 minutes when Josh Green got to come into the game, and he had substituted in. That was in that third quarter run there. There were stoppages. There was the whole like review that happened.
Reviews.
The reviews were rough, even in the arena. There were stoppages, so I'll give him credit on that, but. He didn't take timeouts. He didn't take a timeout during this run. The only timeout there was a TV timeout. That was the one where we were watching it afterwards, and I said, "Oh, look, they took a timeout right there." That's what he was talking about. And they came back, and they still had their 4 timeouts. That was a mandatory like TV timeout. So there was a stoppage there, but you gotta stop the game. Like, you have those for a reason.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, because Jason Kidd didn't take a timeout and a run in the third quarter, is that why they lost the game?
No.
I'm not here for that. But there are a lot of smaller things. Like, I know we're all talking about Josh Green and Frank Ntilikina. They played combined 8 minutes. It's like, is that the main reason they lost the game?
Well, it's the same thing when people were complaining about Dwight Powell.
Yes.
And people were complaining about Dwight Powell in this game too.
But it's a collection of all these small things. And even in the third quarter, they obviously only scored 13 points in that quarter. It was a collection of things. It was, the shooters not hitting shots in the third quarter. It was their choice to ISO Looney so much whenever you just kind of went. I mean, we watched, like you said, we watched the third quarter again here in the hotel room, and as soon as they ISO Looney the first time in the third quarter, I think it was Stan Van Gundy who said, "Oh, this is the first time they've ISO Looney all night." It's like, oh yeah,
and then they did it 3 more times, and he goes, "Why are they doing this?"
And they kept on doing it, and it's just they kept on. They blitzed. I was watching moments tonight in which they were blitzing Curry, and some of the moments, a decent amount of moments, Luka's involved at that. Some of the moments, Luka wasn't involved. And it's like they blitzed it with like Reggie and Maxey. And it's like, why are we blitzing it there? I think they got it because Steph's not Booker, and Steph has seen blitzes like this. He can pass out of those double teams and stuff. But some of it, and we said it on the postcast, some of it, of the blitzing and doubles, is because Luka can't guard him one-on-one. Yeah. So whenever Luka's man comes up to set the pick and they bring his man up, and Luka comes up, one of their ways of kind of helping out Luka on a team defense is to bring up the guy and say, hey, let's just trap it. Let's just blitz Curry to get the ball out of his hands so you're not getting ISO'd on an island. And so, I mean, that's just kind of like what you're doing with Luka out there defensively sometimes.
And they did a pretty good job on Curry. He had 32 points. He had 5 assists. It's not like he had a wild, crazy game in this one. We'll have to talk about Looney a little bit too, because I thought he had a big moment before even that third quarter run. But with Curry, when you talk about the blitzing, that's when, all right, so Looney or somebody comes up and sets a screen, and then all of a sudden there's 2 defenders near Curry, and Looney's either going to roll or whatever, whoever else is setting the screen is going to do something else. Then the 2 defenders come and basically try to trap Curry, or basically just both defend him at the same time. And what Curry can do that what Donovan Mitchell couldn't do, what Devin Booker couldn't do, what Chris Paul couldn't do, is he's faster than all those guys, and he can pass better than all those guys, besides maybe Chris Paul. But they didn't blitz Chris Paul as much. He can pass better than those guys. And so he can, pass through guys, do the hook pass that he does, and get over guys. He runs right by Luka. Even if Luka is trying to trap, there were issues with that all over the place. And I think that Luka's defense did play a huge factor in this game. The Warriors were attacking him. They were trying to go at him. And this Mavericks team, their defense depends on everybody being interconnected and everybody sliding over, getting your spot. And Luka had to defend a bunch of shots at the rim, and I don't think he defended them well enough for the Mavericks to win this game.
Let's talk about Looney for a second. So Looney puts up 21 points, 12 rebounds in this game. He's 10 of 14, literally a career night for him.
Never scored 20 points in the regular season or the playoffs. The first Warriors center with 20 and 10 since the 70s.
Let's go.
It's not even Wilt Chamberlain.
So a lot of discourse after the game from Mavs fans was, like, hey, we got to go to a center. We got to get a big. Rudy Gobert, Miles Turner, names. It's just instantly, with Mavs fan on this. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen this summer, but I do want us to like hold the brakes just a second and look at how Looney got some of these points. Like, it wasn't like a Joel Embiid type of performance that where you're just throwing it down in the block and saying Looney's just going to work and just working our bigs. Even look at what he said post game. I thought this was key from Kevon Looney post game. He asked about his offensive night. He says, JP, Jordan Poole, Steph, and our guards put a lot of pressure on the rim. Just try to be in the right place. Just open the floor up for them. With me and Draymond out there just working the dunker spot. Yep. Something I haven't done a lot this year, but something I'm pretty used to. They've been doing a lot of drop-off passes to allow me to finish and pick and roll. And with these shooters that we have, the paint is pretty wide open. And so, like, it's the outside that's opening up for Looney on the inside. How many of these possessions that we were rewatching the second half tonight once we got back to the room and seeing...
I think that's the 8th time we've said that.
4th. Do you still have the Dennis Smith chop shot? We did. If y'all haven't seen, if you go to our YouTube channel, we talked to Brunson on Media Day, and you can see what he said about the offseason. But hey, no...
Our boss says to play the hits. We're playing the hits.
But just to see how many of the times that, Dallas's perimeter defense got broken down, whether it's Poole, Steph, whoever it is, got into the paint, and then it's a drop off to Looney for a basket. And he had 5 offense rebounds. We could talk about that. But a lot of his stuff tonight were drop offs, were these rolls to the rim whenever they're blitzing Steph. He's getting it right into the paint, and it's a little bucket right there. So it's not like he was Joel Embiid or Wilt Chamberlain out there tonight.
I'll go so far as to say every single one of Kevon Looney's baskets, and I went back and watched all of them when we got back to the hotel room.
We watched the third.
No, but I also watched all of Looney's buckets and all of his shot attempts. Every single one of them was a perimeter defensive breakdown
or an offense rebound. There was a time he got offense board.
Well, but that to me is a breakdown in putting a man putting a body on a man, and that was a perimeter problem too.
Put a body on
to box him out. But yeah, Kevon Looney was incredible, and I haven't put much thought into Kevon Looney. We went into this series thinking that he would be tougher because he adds another element that the other centers that the Mavericks have played in the playoffs hadn't yet, because he can defend in space way better. We expected that. We expected the Mavericks aren't going to be able to play him off the floor as quick. I thought maybe it would be.
I'll leave some words on it. I didn't think he'd be able to hold his ground as much as he has. Like him to play 32 minutes and play 28
not as
in
much
game
as he
one.
has, for sure.
I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought that they would have to be going smaller, way more than what they've had.
I thought they'd be able to play him off the floor a little bit, and they just haven't. They haven't been able to at all. Like in any way.
I mean, they were better with him on the floor than Draymond tonight.
And we haven't thought too much about him going into this series. But Draymond the other day, when we went to his press conference, spoke so highly of him and talked about him in such a way that made me think, dang, like this guy. I mean, he was highly touted coming out of high school, going into college, and he was supposed to have all these skills and come out. And the Warriors thought really highly of him when they first came out. And then he just didn't really pan out. He had injuries, and he just he's finally been able to play 82 games this year. And Draymond, what he said about him was he's professional. He is more professional. He said he's more professional than me. That's what Draymond said. Coming in and preparing and being ready and knowing what he's supposed to do and knowing his role. And that goes to what you said earlier. His quote was, they haven't put me in the dunker spot very often, but he was ready for it. Yeah. He was ready for it right away. And so, just big props to him for having an incredible game. For the Warriors were figuring out a way to beat the Mavericks in that way. And the Mavericks perimeter defense just has to hold up. That's the whole thing with that, because that stuff didn't happen with the Suns or the Jazz or anything like that. So the Mavericks have to clear that up. But coming up, let's get into a couple more things about this game, why it broke open, what things can they do. What did Luka do in this game? What did Jalen Brunson do in this game? Did the Mavericks waste their opportunity because Luka and Brunson went off in this game? Talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. It's the best place to check out the odds, lines, spreads, everything for sports. So go see what they have available for you right now. They have the NBA playoffs. They have MMA. They have daily specials, horse racing. If you guys are into that, go check out everything they have available at BetOnline. They had the series at the Warriors were minus 400. The Warriors are now not on anymore. They took the Warriors and Mavs off of it. I'm sure so much money was coming in on the Warriors side. They took it off, but they do still have Celtics Heat. Celtics are minus 285 favorite. So if you feel good about that, feel good about the Celtics game 2 win, go ahead and put some money down. BetOnline. Check out the odds and scores on your mobile device or the website. BetOnline. It's where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris. Let's do some credit, because the Mavericks, yes, we just kind of buried them in the first half. It was a really bad loss. All the reasons why they lost: their defense broke down, their offense broke down. Jason Kidd didn't call a timeout. Kevon Looney was playing really well because of the perimeter defense of the Mavs. But there are some good things in this game. We saw the Mavericks play really well in this game for 3 quarters, or for 2.5 quarters. The Mavericks played really well. They built up a 19-point lead. They were playing well. Their threes were going down. That first half was incredible for the Mavericks.
Can I dog on them one more time?
I just set up that whole thing for us to talk about some positives. Can we just do positives?
Yeah, we can do. Well, one of the things we didn't mention on the postcast, and I just want to get this out real quick, because I did think this was huge for them.
Did you see this when you watched the third quarter again when you came back to the hotel room?
It was in the third quarter. The Mavericks I wanted to check the timestamp on this. The Mavericks went into the bonus with 6:01 left in the third quarter. Dorian Finney-Smith shot 4 free throws that quarter. He was the only player to shoot 4 free throws, or to shoot free throws the entire third quarter. And he shot his 4th free throw with 6:01 left in the third quarter. That means the Mavs went into bonus at 6:01 left in the third quarter. Can we say 6:01 one more time? People in the crowd, say 6:01. They never attempted a single free throw after that. Like, you get in the bonus with half the quarter left and you don't take a single free throw the rest of the quarter. You have to get into the paint. You have to score. We didn't even talk about the points in the paint. You know, I mean, they got.
Well, it was all Kevon. That's Kevon Looney. Like, I mean, he's going.
You got outscored by a 32-point difference in points in the paint. The bench unit, Dinwiddie didn't have a good night. I wanted to throw this out here before because we didn't talk. I mean, these were huge things as far as bench. You know, the bench getting outscored.
All right, we'll bury him one more time. Where the Mavericks struggled in this game is where we expect the Mavericks to struggle, right? The Warriors just dominated those areas, right? Points in the paint, you just mentioned it. Mavericks got outscored 62-30 points in the paint.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? The Mavs don't have a big. They don't have a big that can defend. Now, that's not the answer to all of their questions because that creates some other problems for offense, but they don't have a guy that can defend like that. Their perimeter defense breaks down at times, and then that's when, you know, they don't have any other options. And then bench points. The Mavericks are missing one or two solid rotation player, like playoff rotation players in this rotation to be a really, really good, like actual title contending threat, which is what we're talking about now. They're at this level now where we're saying, okay, they're a title contender if they win this series, right? They're a title contender right now, I guess, because there's only 4 teams.
Yeah, they are right now.
Because
Yeah.
there's only 4 teams left. But these are the questions. These are the big things. These are the answers that title contending teams have to answer. And the Mavericks can't answer them right now because they don't have enough players. Because we've been talking about all year, they need a couple extra bodies. They need a couple extra guys that are good enough. Tim Hardaway would probably be one of them.
Yeah, because, I mean, Kid was searching for that second guard off the bench, you know, tonight with Josh's minutes, Frank's minutes. You know, obviously Frank missed his shots. So then you replace him with Josh. Josh, in the moment's probably a little too big for Josh. And so then they're just trying to just make some minutes work. But, yeah, Tim would theoretically be in that spot. But the bench unit getting, like you said, getting outscored by over 20 points in the paint to Maxey just hasn't had a good start to this series. I mean, that's an understatement. Got in foul trouble game 1. Tonight, he was a minus 20.
He's having to work. I mean, he comes out and switches on some of those guards. Like the way we're talking about Dorian and Bullock having to work. Trying to guard Curry and trying to guard Clay. But Maxey has to work, and that work for him is harder than it is for those wings.
And I think it's the pressure in which they're working on the perimeter in the sense of, you know, it felt like the lane was so open for the Warriors in the second half, or in especially the fourth quarter, because they were pressuring him so much. You know, I remember this Clay play. He comes off the screen and he catches the ball, and they're playing so tight because they want to take away the 3-pointers. They only attempted 28 3-pointers tonight. They've been averaging 40 in the regular season. Yeah. So the game plan for Dallas to take away the threes, that's working, except Golden State's saying, all right, take away our threes. We're just going to go to the paint. And they're doing it, and they're doing it well. And they got to the basket tonight. So it's just whatever Dallas is kind of forcing them to do, they're taking advantage of it and executing on that. So, I mean, maybe they try not to play as tight on the perimeter, give them a little bit more space, but then you're daring them to shoot threes. But all right, let's brag on this team.
I was gonna say, can we say some good things now? Because the Mavericks, we saw some success. There are reasons to believe that the Mavericks can have success against this Warriors team. And Luka Doncic is still the best player in the series.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he had 42 points tonight. You know, I know he was a minus 12 net on that, but 8 assists, 42 points. Like you said, he hit 5 threes, 12 of 23. The first quarter was awesome. The bomb 3 from, you know, basically the logo there in the second quarter was awesome. You know, they were hitting their shots there in the first half. He was hitting the guys. It was basically Luka versus Steph in the first quarter, which is a lot of fun just for general basketball fans. Luka versus Steph in the first. But yeah, I mean, it was clicking. They were running that small on small pick and roll out with, you know, Reggie Bullock and letting him. I mean, Reggie was on fire tonight. What he finished with 6 threes in the game.
Yeah, 6 of 10. He had 21 points.
6 of 10, and so. I mean, Dorian's not getting the same amount of threes up so far in the series. Dinwiddie obviously had a tough night, but when you look at Jalen Brunson and Luka together, I mean, Brunson hit 4 threes in the first half. He missed 5 threes. He was 0 of 5 in game 1. So Brunson looked more comfortable out there tonight. So at least you're going into game 3 saying, all right, our 2 guys, our duo, JB and Luka, look comfortable. They feel like they found their groove offensively. You just got to kind of make it all click at the same time.
And we said this after game 1. They can get to their spots. They can get their buckets. They can get these shots. Now, they didn't get their buckets in game one, but we saw them get to their spots. We saw them get the shots off that they like to get. Brunson hit his shots. Luka hit his shots. Yeah. It's possible. Now just the defense has to follow suit, and those shots have to come at certain points. And those certain points are the second half and not necessarily the first half to go on these runs.
The non-Luka minutes, like I thought it was huge in the second quarter to start the second. You know, obviously Luka plays all the first quarter. To start the second, they go on a 21-7 run without Luka. They go up. This is when they go up by 19. They go up 53-34, and you're like, let's go. Like this is a cool moment, and obviously they lost that, but I think that's a positive thing too, of saying, hey, we held our ground without Luka on the floor too and went on that big run.
If they get anything from Dinwiddie, they probably win this game.
Yeah, Dinwiddie, it was just a weird game for him. You know, he looked kind of didn't look like he had his confidence some tonight.
He passed up two or three threes that he could have taken in that third quarter.
It just didn't look like he found his rhythm at all. Even there were some shots at the rim that I thought he should have taken, but then he passed out. And
well, he had that one shot where he was driving and Curry and him got like tangled up, and it was almost a jump ball, but then he got the ball out and he scored, and I was like, wait, how did he just do that? But it was the most off-rhythm thing that could ever look like. I was like, of course, if Dinwiddie can't score at all, he's going to score on that junk. That then he kind of just threw up, and Steph was like, how did I just get not called for a jump ball or something like that? Dinwiddie also had that weird travel in the lane that stopped some momentum for the Mavericks.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter, there's just a lot of he struggled in this game, and they need more from him. This is the spot the Mavericks are in. They have to have those three guys in big games step up, and Dinwiddie's being asked to do a lot. He played 22 minutes in this game. Wouldn't it be great if he could have played like 30 because he was producing, because he was out there, because he was contributing? But that's where the Mavericks are.
I mean, at some point, does Kid just say, all right, screw the other guard? Like, Dinwiddie's just going to play 30 minutes instead of having to play Josh and Frank a total of 8. And it's just...
Well, I don't know if he's picking between those two because he's trying to... With those other wing minutes, he's trying to spell Reggie and Dorian. I mean, Dorian played 42 minutes. Bullock played 44. And those are hard minutes on these guys. They're hard. These minutes are harder on those guys in this series than they are in the Sun series or the Jazz series for sure.
Shout out to the Bertans, Damian Lee play. Damian Lee never saw the court again after that.
Damian Lee, more like Jet Lee.
I mean, if you...
The guy does a full like corkscrew flip in the air.
He could have gotten, I mean, probably silver, possibly gold at the Olympics for the twist aerial is good form. It was a good jump on that.
But to that play, so what happened in that play was, Davis Bertans was on the ground. Damian Lee kind of like stepped over him. Davis tried to stand up and obviously like threw his arm up like right when Damian Lee was over him to try and just like hit him or whatever. And then Damian Lee did like this corkscrew flip over him to make it look like he got really hit in the air and then fell down. They reviewed it for like 25 minutes and then 2 technicals were called. But right before that play happened, you pointed out to me, you said, look at Damian Lee in the corner. Bertans was in the left corner, right in front of the Mavericks bench, and Damian Lee just kept hitting him, just like over and over, just like hitting like slapping his chest. Basically, Damian Lee was hitting Davis Bertans, and Bertans didn't like that, and so they started getting at it and going at each other a little bit before that, and then that play happened, and we were like, oh, of course, because they had just been going at each other right before that during the play.
I was going to tweet that out, but I didn't know how to word it to where you could get the right context for it. But it literally started as they were coming down the floor, and just him just being up in Bertans' space. Bertans just kept, I mean, Davis Bertans is going to talk his crap. And then, he kept on putting his hands on him. He kept on smacking his hands, and they were just being really aggressive with each other. And then obviously that play happens. He hits that 3, and so
I saw Haralabob tweet this out that instead of Green or Frank, he would have just kept playing Davis to just go all offense, just like keep throwing him out there and get some threes because he creates space for him, which is nice. And in this game, this was a different game. Like in the first half, the Mavericks. The Mavericks could have won this game, and I would have left that game saying the Mavericks just won in a different way because at halftime they had 131 offensive rating. Like it was just this was a different Mavericks level of offense. They finished with 117 offensive rating. The Mavericks did, so their offense really fell off in the second half. But if they would have kept that same high octane level of offense by just putting Davis Bertans out there and he hits a couple threes maybe, and that changes it, then they just keep outscoring the Warriors instead of what happened in this game where they try to just go all in on defense. Their defense was good in the first half, but they tried to just go all in on defense, and they just didn't get the right buckets in the end.
Well, it just sucks that you scored 117 points and you were up by 19 points in the game, and then you end up losing, by 9 points, and it wasn't even a clutch loss. And I mean, it's just the tale of two halves, right? Like, I mean, it's just, the game ended at the end, and I joked, I did a kind of a joke tweet, at halftime saying, "Hey, this is goes without saying, but the third quarter is going to be massive," and it was
huge.
You only scored 13 points in that, so you should be able to score 117 points in a playoff game and come out with a win. But Dallas hasn't figured Golden State out defensively yet. Like, Golden State put up I think 116, 117 in game one. They put up 126 tonight. Like, Dallas is deep. I'm not walking away of these. I know they only had 13 points there in the third quarter, but they had 32 in the fourth. They had 32 in the first. They had 40 in the second. They hit 21 3-pointers tonight. So I know I saw something about the TNT postgame saying, man, you live by the three, die by the three, and all this stuff. And it's like, bro, they hit 21 3-pointers. they shot 47% from three tonight. That's not my big takeaway coming out of the game saying, man, they got to figure some stuff out offense-wise. Yeah, they shouldn't have ISO Looney as much as some of that. But
problem is they were 2 of 11 in that third quarter. Or 2 of 13.
Yeah, but on the grand scheme of things, you hit 21 threes in the game. I'm not coming out of the game saying, man, we got to figure some stuff out on offense. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the defense. They got to figure out the defense because it was like a light switch. They were out of it in the second half.
Yeah, lots more to take away from this. There's so many other things. But now, go back to game 3 and 4 in Dallas.
We've been here. We've done this before
Mavericks
with
have
Phoenix.
done this before. I feel more encouraged after these 2 games than I do after the first Phoenix 2 games, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, that moment there, somebody asked us on a postcast, we took questions. They said, hey, was this a moment for Luka again? And I don't think it is. I don't think that there hasn't been a moment so far in this series that I'm walking out of like I did game 2 against Phoenix, in the sense of like, that was kind of embarrassing. That was like a heavier moment of like, okay, there's a lot of animosity, really targeting Luka and all of that. I'm not feeling this way coming out of this game. But I want to see how they respond. Obviously, they're going to say and tell themselves, we've done this. We've beat Phoenix, number 1 team in the West, 64-win team. But this Warriors team has been together for a long time. I had this quote.
We didn't see this Warriors team healthy in the regular season. So
yeah, and here's the difference between this Warriors team. I put this. I found this quote. Somebody asked Steve Kerr. It's actually a stat.
While you look for that, Luka tied Dirk for most 40-point playoff games in Mavs history.
Shout out to Dirk being there. This question was asked to Steve Kerr tonight. And it's actually a stat. It says, your teams have now won 12 playoff games when trailing by at least 15 points. No other team since 2015 has won more than 6 of those types of games. Like, let that sink in. No other team since 2015 have won playoff games when you're down by at least 15 points. Steve Kerr has won 12 of them.
Okay. I don't think that's an impressive stat, but think about how different teams have been since 2015 to now. Like, do we even have teams that have stayed together since 2015?
But it's like no teams have done that. Like,
in a single playoffs, or
no other team since 2015 has won more than 6 of those types of games. Of all the teams that's been in the playoffs since 2015.
We're talking about in a single playoffs, not like since 2015.
Since 2015.
Yeah, but in a single playoffs. Not like collectively, like not like they've done that in 2016, 2017.
A playoff game in which they've trailed by at least 15 points. They've came back and won those 12 times. The Warriors have since 2015.
Okay,
there's been 12 games in which they've been down by 15 or more.
It's not worth it for us to argue about this.
You don't think that's impressive? I'm trying to prove a point of Steve Kerr's good. These guys have been together. I mean, his answer to it says just exactly what I said. That core group at this stage in the playoffs, it's about two-way basketball. Like, it's another point of these guys have been there and done that. That there's been 12 times over the past 7 that they've been down by at least 15 points, and these guys can look at it and say, well, we've done this before. We've been down by 19 before in a playoff game, 11 other times, and came back to win a game. This is
what we were saying about the Mavericks all season, that they've done that. right? And so
Yes, regular season's a little different than playoffs, but
sure,
yes.
But here we are.
But here we are.
I still don't think that's that impressive because of how much teams have changed. Like since
what does that have to do with the other teams, though? That's what
because that's their competition. They have the most since 2015. Like who else would have them? What like the Nets? You know, the Lakers, like the Heat.
I mean,
you know,
a lot of teams that's been in the playoffs since 2015. They could have had.
I mean, the Mavericks have played 14 games since then. All right, there you go.
Up.
Lots of things to take away from this. Let us know in the comments what's the thing that got the Mavericks the most in this game. Why did the Mavericks lose this game? What changes do you want to see made? We'll see you back for Game 3.
Game 3, Dallas.
Gotta fly home.
Bounce back. Let's do this.
Go check out our interview episode if you missed that. Go check out the postcast and listen to that. Don't watch it because the video is so bad, but listen to it. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.